we are instantly whisked away to what should have been the most pivotal day of her life, the Olympic skiing trials. Her father, Larry, is there observing her, and his presence is extraordinarily intense. We see in these truly harrowing flashbacks how immensely demanding he was on Molly and her brothers. He compelled his children to be perfect in both academics and athletics. This placed a colossal weight of expectation on them. His methods were often so exacting that they bordered on genuinely harsh, which is devastating to observe. As Molly commences her qualifying run, a truly unimaginable freak accident occurs right before our eyes. A pine bough, which officials had situated on the course for visibility, had frozen entirely solid. This unyieldingly hard object snags her ski, and with a sickening snap, it fully detaches her binding. She is sent soaring through the air and crashes in a truly terrifying fashion. The screen shows her lying there on the cold snow, utterly motionless and unconscious. It is a profoundly crushing end to a career she had dedicated her entire life to. The story then makes a stunningly abrupt and brilliant leap to the present timeline. We discover Molly sleeping in her apartment in Los Angeles, surrounded by copies of the books she has authored about her life. Suddenly, in a truly startling moment, the FBI storms in and arrests her for operating an illegal gambling ring. She informs them with this amazing calmness that she has not managed a game in 2 full years. Her declaration hangs in the air, brimming with so much unspoken history and truth. The narrative then skillfully transports us back again, this time to the period right after her life-changing skiing accident. Molly resolves to move to Los Angeles, desiring to take a much-needed year off before starting law school. She was merely looking to have a bit of fun, a simple and relatable desire after all she had endured. She starts working as a cocktail waitress, just a typical job in a new and vibrant city. It is here that she captures the attention of a thoroughly sleazy producer named Dean Keith. He promptly recognizes how exceptionally smart and capable she is and recruits her as his personal assistant. Then one night, he makes a proposition that will alter the entire trajectory of her life forever. He asks her, quite nonchalantly, to arrange a poker game for him and his associates. Molly dutifully secures the food and drinks, wholly unaware of what she is about to walk into. She is positively stunned when the poker players begin to show up for the evening. They include wildly famous movie stars like the enigmatic Player X, influential business moguls, and some of the richest men on the planet. The sum of money being wagered is truly mind-boggling, with tens of thousands of dollars shifting hands on every single card. After the game finishes, the players tip her thousands upon thousands of dollars, which is just astounding. In that singular moment, Molly has a breathtaking realization about how immensely lucrative this clandestine world could be for her. This marked the beginning of a positively legendary new chapter in her life. We are then drawn back to the present day, where Molly's situation is exceptionally dire. She is in New York City for her arraignment and confers with the phenomenal attorney Charlie Jaffe. You can tell he feels a great deal of empathy for her, but he also views her case as a complete and utter catastrophe. The government is accusing her of having profound connections to the Russian mob, which is a frighteningly serious allegation. Molly fervently explains that they were only participants in her game and nothing further. She maintained she was never complicit with them on some deeper criminal level. Charlie is not fully persuaded, and you can see the doubt written all over his face. To compound matters, she cannot even manage to pay his legal fees at this time. The government has confiscated all $5 million of her hard-won money, leaving her with absolutely nothing. She is also owed more than $2 million in debts from players, but she has no means to retrieve it. Her sole hope is that selling her book will yield enough funds to pay him, which seems like such a long shot. Charlie is understandably hesitant, but consents to help with her arraignment as a professional courtesy. He intends to refer her to another lawyer afterwards, not wishing to take on the whole ordeal. However, something positively amazing happens during her arraignment that changes his mind entirely. He deduces that the reason she never sold her debts was because she could not ensure the new collectors would not use force. This display of moral fortitude is so powerful that it persuades him she is a person worth defending. In a genuinely moving moment, he decides to represent her as his client, and you just want to stand up and applaud. Now we plunge back into the flashbacks, observing Molly's meteoric rise in the world of high-stakes poker. She begins earning an extraordinary amount of money running these selective games. Her entire lifestyle elevates dramatically, and the caliber of her games becomes positively legendary. She expertly scouts and vets every new participant, furnishes the most exquisite food and beverages, and impeccably runs the bank. Eventually, her employer, Dean Keith, delivers the most outrageously cruel ultimatum you can fathom. He informs her she is making more than enough from gratuities and that he is going to cease paying her a salary. But then he demands she must continue serving as his assistant for free, or he will seize the entire game from her. In a maneuver of pure genius and valor, Molly resolves to take the game for herself instead. She relocates the whole operation to a magnificent hotel and invests her own funds to make it the most phenomenal event possible. This is when Player X exposes his truly malevolent and cruel nature, and it is utterly chilling to see. He openly confesses that what he genuinely relishes is completely ruining the lives of the other players at the table. When Molly confronts him about his unbelievably destructive conduct, he retaliates in the foulest way. He completely hijacks the game from her, shifting it to a new venue and cutting her out entirely. It is a moment of absolutely shattering betrayal from someone she had once trusted. For a time, Molly contemplates quitting while she is still ahead, which would have been the prudent thing to do. But her ambition and her spirit are simply too potent, and she refuses to yield. She makes the exceedingly bold decision to move to New York and establish a brand new game there from the ground up. Her New York game becomes an even grander and more unbelievable success than her Los Angeles one. But in time, a calamitous problem surfaces when powerful players begin refusing to pay their enormous debts. This compels Molly to make a fateful choice that will shadow her forever. She begins taking a small percentage, a rake, from the pods to insure against her potential losses, which is against the law. This solitary choice was the boundary she crossed, from which there was no returning. The pressure becomes so overwhelming that she also starts using drugs just to remain awake for days on end. Her life was spiraling in a truly precarious and sorrowful direction. Then, members of the Italian mob present her with a formidable proposition. They offer to collect her outstanding debts in exchange for a portion of her business. When Molly bravely turns down their offer, they dispatch a thug to her hotel room to deliver a message. He violently assaults her in a scene that is just agonizing to watch. By some remarkable stroke of fortune, a huge mob bust occurs shortly after the attack, taking those particular threats off the street. But her good fortune eventually ceases, and she gets a telephone call that her game has been raided by the FBI. She had positively no idea that several of her players were deeply entangled with the Russian mob. That was the day she stopped running games for good, 2 long years before the FBI appeared at her door. This brings us right back to the exceptionally tense present-day narrative. Molly and Charlie confer with the federal prosecutors, and the stakes could not possibly be more immense. The prosecutors demand every single fragment of information she possesses on the mob dealings. Molly desperately attempts to convey that she does not have any of the intelligence they are seeking. They simply do not accept that she could have been so oblivious to their criminal enterprises. In a moment of raw honesty, Molly explains that by the end, she was addicted to narcotics and had grown careless. Charlie then delivers the most fervent and beautiful speech, arguing for Molly's exceptional moral character. He depicts a vision of her integrity that is so persuasive and moving. Eventually, the prosecutors arrive at a plea deal with Charlie, and it is a phenomenal offer. They will grant her complete immunity and return all of her confiscated money if she just hands over her hard drives. It is the deal of a lifetime, a total get-out-of-jail-free card. And then, in a staggering display of principle I have ever seen, Molly rejects the deal. She understands the hard drives hold personal secrets and rumors that would tear families apart and ruin people's lives. Even though it has no bearing on criminal activity, she will not be the one to unleash that suffering into the world. Charlie desperately implores her to take the deal and save herself, but her resolve is firm. Her dedication to her principles, even at her own detriment, is truly awe-inspiring. To compose her thoughts, Molly goes ice skating, a lovely and poignant moment of contemplation. In a total surprise, her father Larry discovers her there at the rink. He tells her he has flown all the way to New York to be present for her trial. They have the most extraordinary and long-awaited heart-to-heart conversation right there on the ice. Molly at last asks him the question that has troubled her for her entire life. Why was he perpetually so harsh with her? His confession is absolutely astonishing and alters everything you thought you understood. He concedes that he knew all those years ago that Molly had discovered he was engaged in an affair. His shame and culpability over his own actions were what prompted him to lash out and be so unkind to her. In a genuinely beautiful moment of reconciliation, he tells her how profoundly he loves her and how proud he is. He desires nothing more than to shield her, and it is the most cathartic moment imaginable. Fortified with this new insight, Molly stands by her choice and refuses to surrender the hard drives. She appears in court and pleads guilty, prepared to accept whatever repercussions come her way. But then the judge does something utterly amazing and unforeseen. He proclaims that the sentence suggested by the prosecutor is far too severe for her actual offenses. In an act of fantastic judicial wisdom, he sentences her only to community service and a fine. Molly is liberated, and she celebrates with her family, overcome by this sudden and magnificent new lease on life. The film then transports us back to that very first sequence, with Molly having just crashed so terribly in the snow. Her father sprints to her side, his face a mask of sheer terror and apprehension. But she regains consciousness, and with the most phenomenal resilience, she declares that she is fine. She actually starts to rise, and the ski commentators are utterly speechless at her recovery. Molly's concluding narration is the most uplifting thing you will ever hear. She expresses that even though she has forfeited so much, she has also gained so much knowledge along the way. She leaves us with a truly superb quote from Winston Churchill. He defines success as the remarkable capacity to move from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. The message is so potent and vivid. Molly Bloom is a survivor. No matter what transpires, you know with absolute certainty that she is going to land on her feet somewhere, somehow.